The name of my project is Sinbad and the Four Voyages of World Literature. In the summary, Sinbad was about an account of Sinbad's 7 adventures and his 7 near-death experiences. He sent for a porter who rested right outside his home and wished for his riches and envied Sinbad. He told the porter and the other friends he had accrued his 7 stories on how he earned his riches and almost died at every turn. He sent the porter home every day with gold and bade him back every day until the stories were told. At the end, he even hired the porter and they became friends, and he continued to finally reap the benefits of his suffering instead of create new adventures. The Sinbad that I've seen was called Sinbad and the Legends of the Seven Seas by DreamWorks. It differs from the one It differs from the one I've seen in a few ways. One, he never inherited anything. He was an orphan who befriended the prince of the country he resided in. Two, he owned his own ship and sailed with the same friends he always sailed with. Three, Sinbad was a pirate and not a notable merchant, although he was more noble than originally believed in the movie I'd seen. Fourth, there was an evil goddess that was behind Sinbad's misfortune in the first place. Fifth, Sinbad was persuaded to do the right thing as opposed to just doing it. Sixth, Sinbad fell in love. And finally, the movie never showed him retired. The purpose. The purpose, I believe, was to both entertain and teach a lesson. The lesson I got from it was to not judge a man by what he has or what he lacks. Although Sinbad had riches upon riches, each trip he received his riches, he almost died in the process. And although he was living the good life, he paid his dues to live the luxurious life that had been laid before him. The West African tales and the Arabic tales. In both the West African tales and in Sinbad, magic was involved. They both teach a lesson. They're both told for children. Both of these tales caution against greed, deceit, and jealousy. They both teach the bad guy a lesson at the end. Both teach both teach on the lesson of jealousy. When I say bad guy on the other one though, the porter was not necessarily the bad guy, but he still taught him to not judge anybody before you know them. In the Jataka tales in Sinbad, both of these tales were written on the same continent. Both of these tales taught things like kindness, compassion, and generosity. Both of these tales talked about foolishness. Sinbad talked about foolishness in the sense of misjudging someone's circumstances and not knowing the actual circumstances. The Jataka tales talk about foolishness in the sense of not thinking, like the mosquito and the carpenter. Both of these tales also use mythical characters in the storytelling. In one of Sinbad's voyages, he encounters a giant. In the Jataka tales, they use the Yakshini, that's a mystical female spirit in their storytellings. Then Mulan and the Arabic tales. Mulan and Sinbad both stand strongly on virtue. They both involve accomplishing impossible tasks. In Mulan, she impersonated a soldier for 12 years without being detected. In Sinbad, he survived misfortune and death 7 times and still ended up rich every time. Both Mulan and Sinbad were considered legends or legendary in their country. Only Arabic tales. The Arabian tales are the only ones that I read this semester that didn't use animals to propel the story, talking or not. I mean, like the spider tales of West Africa. It did use things like giant, and it is also the only story that traveled from different countries and continents. It also doesn't add the moral at the end of the story. It kind of weaves it throughout the story. And for me, it's not as clearly identified as the other ones were. Lastly, both stories are written for children. The other stories were read. The other stories we've read may have been modified for children, but they were not necessarily children's stories. And that's my whole thing.